Mario vs Donkey Kong was released for the Game Boy Advance 20 years ago, and Nintendo decided to celebrate that by remaking the entire game with new graphics, levels and modes, recreating the beloved classic for modern hardware. But in doing so, a question has arisen that really needs to be answered. Why did they remake it? Game Boy Advance games are available on the Nintendo Switch through the NSO app, and it wasn't a game that had aged badly by any means, right? The graphics might not have looked as clean being blown up to run on a TV, but that's really the only downside. So is Mario vs Donkey Kong 2024 a game that has proven that it needs to be remade, and is it a game that feels outdated given how little has really changed between this new title and the original? That's what I aim to answer in this review. Let's start with the second question first. Does the Mario vs Donkey Kong formula feel outdated in the modern day? Absolutely not. The original Game Boy Advance title is still fun, and this remake as well is a joy to play. Mario has always had a great feel of movement in both Donkey Kong 94 and Mario vs Donkey Kong, making these games some of the most enjoyable platforming from a 2D Mario. Mario is just as slick and precise as he always has been, making the general gameplay feel top notch. That said, Mario's movement options in this game do make the title fairly easy for returning players. Many early levels can be completed very quickly, and sometimes even by skipping segments of them altogether with a well-placed backflip. In some ways, this is the reward for skilled players, but this is slightly undercut by the removal of Mario's fall damage. This is one of the few changes made to this remake. Mario no longer dies when he falls a long distance. Now he just gets stunned, or he's perfectly fine. This dramatically reduces the risk factor in doing these more precise trick jumps to clear levels, instead of going this slower normal route, and I don't think that is a good thing. It makes the game even easier than it otherwise is for returning players, at least in the first half of the game. The level and puzzle design of many of these stages has also not been altered to accommodate for the fact that Mario can no longer die from a big fall, meaning some of the more difficult challenges when trying to carry the key to the door are completely gone, as Mario can make a leap of faith or drop down to the exit without fear. I'm not sure why this decision was made. It's not like the original Mario vs Donkey Kong was a really hard game, especially when an easy difficulty mode was also added anyway. The remake also added a multiplayer mode, which could make the game even easier. Now, to be fair, there are some changes made in this mode, like the need to get 2 keys to the door instead of just 1, even if one of these keys doesn't actually need to be carried. But player 2, who controls Toad, is shorter than Mario and so can get through small gaps that the player would otherwise have to navigate around, making traversal a little easier, and the 2 players can use each other as steps to reach high places, defeating the point of some puzzles entirely. I don't think 2-player was a bad addition though. Co-op is often a great way to play, but it's just another way that this game ends up coming across a bit too easy. With all this in mind, however, it's not like there isn't any challenge to be found within Mario vs Donkey Kong 2024. The new stages are pretty great, introducing some interesting new mechanics like ice floors and wind generating flowers, and once you beat the first half of the game, both the second act and expert challenges are unlocked, and then after that there is also time attack mode. Each of these provides some measure of challenge, and it's when the game really starts getting into its groove. The puzzles are more difficult, reaction time and speed are emphasised more, and Mario's expanded movement options feel designed around, rather than it being a way to break apart or ignore puzzles. By the end of it, I was having a really great time with Mario vs Donkey Kong. It just took a good 3 hours or so to get to that point, and maybe longer for new players given I was able to pretty easily rush through all the early worlds. I guess that brings us back to the first question I put forward. Did Mario vs Donkey Kong really need a remake? Probably not. The extra levels are nice, but those could have gone to a new game entirely. The only tangible benefits this remake brings is in the presentation, which is way better here for obvious reasons. But I also don't have an issue with it being remade either. The game is certainly easier, but part of that feeling is almost certainly because I've improved as a player over these last 20 years. I think it's too easy, but I was watching family members who are new to the series play through the game, and they found it rather challenging, even in the first half. Ultimately, Mario vs Donkey Kong 2024 is a slightly odd game to review in my opinion, because I don't think it's an absolute must-have title, but it's also far from being bad. It kind of just sits there in the middle of quality, being a very fun game to play, but not one that will really push players, unless it's their very first time platforming. I don't think anyone can truly dislike this game, but after beating every single level, I'm not felt with a feeling like I need to play anymore either. Special thank you to Nintendo for sending us a copy of this game to review. I hope it does them well. And a special thank you to all of our patrons who are scrolling on screen right now. If you want to know how you can join them, then you should check out the description below, or click the link that's on screen. You can of course support us in non-monetary ways as well. The best way to do this is to watch another video, or like this video, or even comment below. And don't forget to subscribe so that you always remember to return to the source.